Are you drifting further and further away from your goals? Are you experiencing feelings of guilt and cognitive dissonance because you keep falling just short of the achievement of your goals? And these are the goals that you're setting for yourself. These aren't even goals that other people are setting for you. You feel like you're falling short of your own goals. Well, on today's show, we break down 13 powerful principles that will change your life while also teaching you why consistency is king and that drifting is the devil's work.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrive Time Show on both your radio and podcast download. And Jason, you are looking good on this incredible magical morning, my friend. And thank you for bringing coffees into the Man Cave Studios.
Well, yeah, if I'm going to be hyped up, I would like everybody else around me to be as jazzed up as well.
Nice. Now, on my understanding, before we get into today's show, because today's show is called Consistency is King and Drifting is the Devil's Work. 13 power principles that will change your life. But before we get into it, I want to ask you, I understand that yesterday you went to the Gathering Place for the first time.
I
for the
did.
listeners who are not familiar with the Gathering Place, it is a massive park, a huge public facility.
Right.
Can you explain what it was like going to the Gathering Place? What kind of things, what kind of accoutrements, what kind of decor, what kind of ambiance you can find at the Gathering Place?
So it was nuts. So I've driven down Riverside since it's like, the 6 years it was in construction, and then once it was finally open, and it like blew my mind just looking at it from the outside.
Yeah.
But me and the now wife decided to go on like a massive bike ride on because you can rent these This Machine bikes, and we did that for about 6 or so miles. But as I'm driving down it, I used to run down Riverside when I was in high school, and it's like I'm in a completely different city.
Have you, Dr. Breck, have you checked out the Gathering Place yet?
We have. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the Gathering Place?
It's incredible. It's really an amazing park, and it's so much more than just a park. There are slides. There's jungle gyms to climb on. There's all kinds of things for the kids to play with and play on and explore.
Wait,
there's also picnic
those are
areas.
just for kids?
No.
Okay, I
I
don't
think
feel so
adults
bad.
are very welcome.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
I mean, there's a tower where you get to the top and you can see for miles and miles. They've got a small lake that's built within the park. They've got the skate park and basketball courts, and I mean, it really is a special place. Actually, we're going to have my one of my daughter's birthday parties there next week.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Really?
A week from today. Yeah.
I'm going to queue up this video.
So you guys
here.
come and enjoy, have some cupcakes. We'll all go explore together.
There's
Yes.
a video on Tulsa People here. How old is your daughter turning, by the way?
She will be 8.
Wow. Okay, let me see if I can play this video here. This is on the Tulsa People website. Kind of a drone tour. I'm going to put a link to this on the show notes because on an audio-only show, for some reason, watching video clips isn't quite as exciting as seeing them in. But it is it's quite a place. This Gathering Place. So okay, so Jason, you did the Gathering Place thing, but before we get into today's show, you and I were talking yesterday a little bit about the no-go zone.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that I'm a good teacher and that I've communicated. Because if you cannot explain to the listeners, wow, sweet mother of Dayquil, Batman. So if you can't explain to the listeners what the no-go zone is, then I'm a bad teacher. So let me just see for 5,000 mega points. Can you explain to the listeners what the no-go zone is all about? Because you're a newly married man.
True.
And therefore it is my duty to provide unsolicited marital advice to any newly married man or woman, and whenever I can, I do that. So can you explain what the no-go zone is?
Yeah, so from my understanding, the no-go zone is a list of however many zones you would like to have. So picture, the best way you described it was picture your significant other in their own little bubble in the middle of a chart.
In the middle of a chart.
Right. And then you draw a massive ring around that, and you define what no-go zone number 1 is.
The first circle has your spouse in the circle.
Right.
And then we go another circle.
Right.
Like a quarter of an apple or like the Earth's surface. Okay, so in the circle is your spouse.
Yeah, it's like one of those old charts of if you cut the world in half in science class, and it shows you like the core and the mantle and the crest and all that.
I got it. Yeah. Okay, I got it. I'm picturing it. So in the middle, you have your spouse in the middle of the circle.
True.
What's on the second? What's on the layer surrounding the spouse?
So on all of the layers surrounding, so you can choose as many as you want to. They're all your specific zones, and each zone is meant to protect the sanctity of your relationship, and it is an area that you or no one else is allowed to enter, or your no-go zone.
Right. So explain to listeners some of my no-go zones, just so that way it's very practical for our listeners out there, because I want our listeners to grow successful companies.
Yeah.
But also, if they could not end in epic divorces, that would be great too.
True. So a couple of the ones that I remembered, I wish I would have brought my clipboard with me, but a couple of the ones that I remember were your digital no-go zone.
Yep.
And so basically meaning that nobody can contact you digitally. That is not Vanessa.
There we go. So no females. I'm not interacting with females via email or social media. So if you're out there and you're a female, and I know no one's ever done this, but if you are a female and you send me a direct message, I'm not going to get it because it's the no-go zone.
Yeah. I've tried with fake accounts and I never got a response.
Okay. And then, and what are other no-go zones?
I want to make sure I get the name right. Is it the Billy Graham rule?
The Billy Graham rule.
Yeah.
This is right. The Pastor Billy Graham. Can you explain to the listeners what the Billy Graham rule is?
Yeah, so basically, Mr. Billy would not meet you in any meeting fashion alone if you were a female. It always had to be in with either other witnesses available or bigger groups of people, but he did not even want to be in the same room as just another female with no accountability.
Oh, man, I feel like I'm a good teacher.
You're a great teacher.
Because it's hard to have an affair if you're not in the same room as somebody of the opposite sex alone.
That's what I've heard.
It's harder to have those kind of connections when it's not physically possible.
It would make it difficult.
The no-go zone.
Right.
So I would like to, now that we've taught the no-go zone, let's get into today's show, 13 power principles that will change your life. Consistency is king, and drifting is the devil's workshop. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to read off principle number 1, and I'm going to go around the horn and see if we can kind of explain to listeners what this means. So principle number 1. God punishes slackers. Gravity punishes cliff jumpers. So here's the notable quotable. It is, he who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Proverbs 10:4. Let's try it again. He who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of a diligent makes rich. So let's break that into practical terms. Dr. Breck, you see patients as a job at drbreck.com. It's a chiropractic facility.
It is.
What if you, on Monday, what time do you start seeing patients?
At 9.
What if you just didn't see them on Monday? You know, they're booked, and you just decided not to see them. Well, what would happen if you did that, I don't know, every Monday?
We might have a riot.
Jason, what would
That
happen?
first Monday, we might have a riot. After that, we're going to have nobody showing up.
Jason, elephant in the room, we have thousands of members.
True.
Who pay to get their hair cut on a monthly basis. Some guys have the unlimited package where they come in every week or so.
Yep.
What would happen if consistently we were inconsistent? And again, everybody, me, you, everybody, we have all made mistakes. There's nobody out there who's not made mistakes. But if by default, if the one thing you're consistent about is being inconsistent, what happens?
Well, those 4,000 members would quickly turn to far less than 4,000 members.
There we go.
People would they would stop trusting the brand and just take their business somewhere else.
So let's think about this. I'm asking you, Mr. Listener, Mrs. Listener, what time do you consistently start your workday? What time? I want you to think about that. What time? Yeah, what time? Now, Elon Musk, the man behind PayPal, SolarCity, Tesla, he says, work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks to improve the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour weeks and you're putting in 100-hour weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve. It's obvious. It seems obvious reading that. But, Jason, you've worked with some great clients.
Yeah.
So think about some clients you can kind of brag on.
Oh, I have
about
one
the
from
work
Thursday.
ethic. Let's go for it. Go for it.
So Thursday, I'm talking to Mr. Stephen Hall from Norman. He does mod scenes.
Mod scene, Stephen
yeah.
Hall. This just in from Oklahoma City area. Mod Scenes is his company, modscenes.com. They make backdrops for churches and other organizations.
Oh, yeah.
Mod Scenes.
But so we were just kind of talking about his calendar and going through the items of the things he needs to get done for the next week. And he was just like, yeah, I'll get on it. I'll sleep when I can. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, over the past 2 days, I've already put in 62 hours. I'm like, how was that possible? He's like, well, it was more like 3 days, but I've been pulling it was like 14 to 15 hour days just so he could fulfill something and then stay ahead of it so he doesn't have to worry about like his inventory or anything for his next couple orders.
And what I'm advocating for you out there is just if you want to achieve super success, you don't have to pull an all-nighter every single day. You don't have to kill yourself every day. You just got to be consistent about a sustainable struggle. All right? You gain strength through struggle. And so, Dr. Breck, you're a workout guy.
I am.
How often do you like to go work out?
I try to at least work out 5 days a week.
5 days?
Uh-huh.
Did you work out
Sometimes
yesterday?
6. I didn't.
You work out the day before that?
I did.
And what kind of workout did you do?
On Friday, that was a leg workout.
Okay, walk us through. What kind of exercises did you do? What's your routine?
So I get up early. I do some meditation and prayer, and then I go to the gym.
What time?
I wake up around 4:30.
Okay, 4:30 you wake
And
up.
I'm at the gym, usually getting there around 5.
Okay, so they're on 5. And what kind of workouts are you doing?
These are, heavy weights. I mean, I like
Heavy?
I like to, lift weights, free weights.
Yeah.
So on a leg day, we're doing some squats, some deadlifts.
Sure.
We're also doing some leg press, some calf raises, some lunges, some body weight stuff, some explosive stuff, some plyometrics, some cardio. I mix in a lot of different things.
And how long does that workout generally take you?
It's usually about an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
90 minutes.
5 to 6:30 with everything together. Some ab workout thrown in there.
And what do you eat in a typical day? Like, what do you eat? The listeners out there are...
A lot.
A lot of listeners are Google searching Dr. Breck right now. They're going to drbreck.com and they're going, oh, wow.
You're really only going to see a headshot.
What?
In my
That's all they need.
Great shape.
So tell us, though, I mean, what does your daily eating routine look like?
So for breakfast, I try to eat, after the workout, I'll eat or drink a protein shake.
Got it.
Sometimes a protein bar with that. And then I will get some eggs, typically as a large part of my breakfast, and some coffee. I do enjoy a little coffee to get me going.
So you do eggs and coffee and what else?
There's different things that I'll throw in there as well. So sometimes like an egg might be in a variation of an omelet. So we may have some vegetables and things as well as some other meats in there.
What would you never eat?
What do I never eat?
Like, what kind of things would you never eat for breakfast because you know it would not help you get to your goal?
Well, things I like, but try to. I can't say I never eat, but I try to avoid are pastries.
Pastries.
So donuts and.
But you could.
Yeah.
And if you did consistently, you would get that result.
Right. And that wouldn't be the result I'm shooting for.
What about Jameson for breakfast? Do you advocate for that?
No.
Okay.
No, never have.
That's fair.
Yeah. That is something I
Are
never
you
have for
referring to
breakfast.
putting an adult beverage in your coffee? Is that what you're referring to, Jason?
I might be.
Okay. Thank you. Now, so, Jason, this just in from our alcohol help desk. All right. Thank you.
Not
now,
part of the start of my day.
So
Don't drink the coffee I gave you this morning.
To make this very actionable, though, I want everybody out there to get out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down tomorrow's schedule. Tomorrow. And I want you to write down tomorrow, let's just do tomorrow. What time are you waking up tomorrow? Now, this is so easy to do. It is so easy to do the schedule when we feel like it. Now, see, I got that Dayquil thing going on, and I don't want, I want to do the show, but I don't want to take Dayquil. It'd be easier for me just to say, today, let's take a mulligan. And the world would encourage you. The world would say, "Oh, you don't look so good. Why don't you just take the day off?" The world does that. Does the world not do that, Jason? Do they not say, "Just come on, just hop back in here in bed. You're okay."
Yeah, I've had supervisors. I lost my voice one day. I was still able to work. Everything I did was on a computer. I didn't have to talk to anybody. And my supervisor's like, "I don't think you're well enough to be here. You should go home." Which I didn't realize was her play to not pay me for the day. But
and what are you going to do when you're at home? By the way, you're going to sit there thinking about, reflecting about. Getting better? Are you going to be sleeping? No, you're going to be watching TV, flipping through Judge Judy reruns.
Right.
Judge Judy exists specifically just for people who have a sick day.
Oh, yeah.
Watching Judge Judy, looking at old People magazines. You go to the doctor. You're going to wait in that lobby for like 30 minutes with a whole bunch of other sick people. The guy next to you has swine flu. The guy next to him has some other West Nile disease or something. And the two of you are going to be conversing about what's going on. You're going to wait for a good hour or a half hour.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to do the ear, nose, throat thing. They're going to come back and say, well, it looks like you have bronchitis. Now, you'll need to go to Walgreens and get this prescription. So now you go to Walgreens with your little prescription. You go through the drive-thru. You get your little bag. What kind of stuff would they prescribe you, Breck, there for like a bronchitis? You get a little,
I mean, so often it's just going to be a antibiotic.
Get that. Because
for almost everything.
Just get that because that's going to make your body, it's going to be harder to build immunity in the future. But go and get that. So you go get that, and then you come back to your house, and you do these stupid things that don't work. You're like, let's just get a bunch of orange juice. We're going to just vitamin C it through it. We're going to work through it. And then you're going to go get, on your way home, you're going, honey, you're going to call your wife. You're like an adult man. You're 40. Yeah. You're 45. You're 35. You call your wife or your girlfriend. Honey, could you go to get me some soup? Yeah, I can sing some soup. And so then your wife picks you up some soup, or you pick her up some soup. You lay in your bed wearing your stupid pajamas that you got from Christmas a couple years ago. You're laying there with your Harvard embroidered pajamas or your OKC Thunder pajamas and your shirt. And you're watching Judge Judy till 5 p.m. Your wife comes home at 5:30. How's your fever? Are you okay? I think I'm okay. And then you call your boss. Boss, I should be able to. Fna, fna, fna. You want to say that, by the way, when you're sick. That's a good phrase. Fna, fna. Boss, I think I can make it in tomorrow. I think I can. Like you're running a marathon, like you're doing. And then your boss will go, well, could we count on you? Well, I hope I can. I'll try. I'll see how I feel in the morning. And then next morning you wake up and it's like 7 in the morning. Oh, frick. Work would require struggle. I'm going to call in again. You call in, and everybody who calls in isn't self-employed.
Right.
That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you're self-employed like me, and I'll ask Breck here in a second, I haven't had a sick day in 22 years. You just don't. Aren't you ever sick? What do you do? Show up. You see, showing up is half the battle, 80% of the battle. The entire battle is just showing up. You talk about what is my favorite ability in new hires. It's dependability. It's availability. It's being there. It's really hard to count on somebody who only shows up on the days they feel like it. Breck, how many sick days are you taking?
0.
Really?
Really?
Well, do you ever have like a tummy ache or a little headache?
Yeah, sure.
A little sniffleitis?
I might, yeah.
And what do you do then?
You push through and you show up. It's game time.
Do you put cucumbers on your eyes? And what do you do? How do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, one, I do try to keep my immune system strong. That's a big part of my role as a healthcare provider. And so I teach my patients to do the same.
A lot of roids is what you're saying, right?
A lot of, yeah.
You pop it down. No, okay.
But like probiotics and vitamins, vitamin C, but there's also lots of other vitamins that are going to help you stay well rather than, fighting off and getting sick in the first place.
You're on the record as advocating probiotics, but what about amateur biotics?
Yeah, I'm not so big a fan of amateur biotics.
All right.
They're just not as good.
Okay.
But there's also prebiotics. I mean, it gets into a whole thing. I won't waste your time. We can go into that if you want.
Please make a short story long. This is a great podcast where we try to. Well, seriously, if there's things you'd recommend, we're trying to help our listeners out there. Tell our listeners what kind of, because you don't do sick days. What kind of things do you do that are consistently keeping you healthy?
I supplement on a regular basis with vitamin C, echinacea, which is a flower.
Where do you
get it? I get supplements either through a company called New Medica, which is like New Medica. They're what we call nutraceuticals. So they're produced in a way that is a high grade like a pharmaceutical, but it's a nutrient.
Can our listeners buy this stuff?
Yes, through certain outlets. So like through my office, other physicians' offices. They don't sell direct to the customer. But then also places like Aikens, I'll get some different things. And so, but I'm very particular about the brands and who's producing what I'm taking. But echinacea, golden seal are both great flowering plants that you can get some immune boosting benefits. Vitamin C, vitamin D for different things, vitamin A and E. B vitamins help keep the energy going.
You're intentional is what I'm saying.
I'm very intentional.
You have a plan.
Very intentional. Yes, I have a plan. And even my family, I do the same as we're heading back to school, whether that be from like Christmas break because my wife's a teacher, or back from the summer break. The same. It's like we want to boost the immune system because you're going right back into the cesspool of the classroom. And so you're going to be picking up things. You're going to have kids who go to the bathroom, don't wash their hands. Those kinds of things happen. And for adults in the workplace, it happens. So don't assume your coworkers washing their hands. Keep yourself healthy. And so if you take some intentional proactive steps, you can avoid a lot of illnesses. And so that's the first step. And then after that, I just refuse to get sick. It's just not okay. So I don't. So I did take one day off where I scheduled it, but I took a Friday and had surgery on my knee. But I was back to work on Monday and pushed through, and that was really the only sick day that I can remember taking.
If you're out there, though, and
16 years.
If you own a business and you're out there and you just constantly are calling in sick, you cannot win.
No. I can't imagine how you'd stay in business.
You can't. You can't. He said, "We're mean." I'm not mean. I'm just telling you how it is. If you're a linebacker in the NFL and you don't play a third of the games, let me tell you what's going to happen. They're going to replace you. Now, principle number 2, you must know your purpose. What does that mean? You must know your purpose. Jason, what does that mean?
Isn't a porpoise like a whale?
Dayquil.
I think they make a different noise.
So you must know your purpose.
Right. No, so it's you have to know what you're working towards. You can't just have this ethereal concept of why you want to be successful. You have to have your mission. You have to define what your why is.
Okay, so Napoleon Hill, the best-selling author of Think and Grow Rich, writes, "The person who moves with definiteness recognizes the difference between temporary defeat and failure. When plans fail, he substitutes others, but he does not change his purpose. He perseveres." So, as it relates to you, the listener, and me specifically, at the Thrive Time Show, our goal is to mentor millions. Specifically, we have 3 ways, and it's on the chalk wall behind me. So 1, we would like to have 2,000 people a year, such as you, attend our conferences, which we did last year. So you can attend the conferences, and you can buy tickets, and we really only want to service 2,000 people per year. Jason, can you please explain why we like to keep our conferences small and not have like 700 people?
Because you want to know everybody like on an individual level. Like when somebody leaves, you want to be able to remember their name.
And if they have questions, we want to be able to
answer them.
So how many other conferences have you been to, Dr. Breck, where you could ask a question and then every question is answered? I mean, have you ever been, these big conferences, once you get 1,000 people, it's not possible.
Right. No.
So now the next little area is we want to coach 160 diligent doers. Now, Jason, why do we want to coach 160 one-on-one clients who are diligent as opposed to thousands of people who are looking for a bogus certification or some type of life coaching that is about motivation? Why do we only want to work with people who are sufficiently motivated, who just want to know the practical steps? Why do we only want to coach 160 diligent doers?
Well, the 160 is a doable, measurable goal. That's as many people as we can fit on board with you doing all the 13-point assessments and then assigning out the implementation for yourself or the other coaches. But we want diligent doers because we want people who will actually want to do the action steps in order to grow. That way we can get them to where they want to be in, 8 to 12 to 24 months.
I talked to a pastor of a mega church yesterday who wants to be a client.
Does that mean over 1,000 or over 2,000?
In my opinion, a mega church would be over 1,000 members is big. But this is like thousands and thousands, like more than 5,000.
Is it
clearly
TD
over
Jakes?
the line?
It's TD Jakes, isn't it?
No.
Oh, dang it.
No. But if he did call me, I would probably cry. I would just, he's
I would
so
cry for
good. And this is what would happen. Because I feel like I'm ordinary and I'm just good at doing ordinary things repetitively. But this is what would happen.
So Jesus, who is exceptional, is having a conversation with ordinary.
Let me translate. TD Jakes, who's exceptional, would be having a conversation with ordinary.
So Jesus, who is exceptional, is having a conversation with ordinary. And exceptional and ordinary always have a conflict. Anytime exceptional people dwell in the midst of ordinary thinking people, there's always going to be conflict.
I'd see TD Jakes. I'd pick up my phone. I'd see the net number, and I'm like, "Is this TD Jakes?" And he'd go, "Get ready, get ready, get ready." And I would start crying. Oh, it's so good. And then he would say, "I need you to focus. I need you to stop crying. Seriously."
Right.
And I'm, and then he would say, "No, seriously, if we're going to have a productive call, you need to stop crying." And then I would say, "Every time exceptional people come and so no, he's great. He's awesome. But anyway, I talked to this mega church pastor, and I spoke to a dentist. Ooh. In California.
Nice.
And he wants us to pump up his business. They do huge business. And so I had to decide who's a better fit because we only have Juan availability. Juan. And why do we only have Juan, Jason? Why do we only have Juan availability?
Because we most likely offboarded a client, which meant that spot is open, and we can only fit in one because that will get us back to our 160 goal.
And we have dozens of people wanting to fill that spot.
Right.
And so, again, if we had 1,000 clients, I couldn't write the business plans.
True.
And you might say, "Oh, there's someone else could do it. Why don't you delegate to Elevate?" And I would say, I do delegate a lot of things, but I don't want to delegate this because this is all I want to do.
Right.
But knowing your purpose is so important. You've got to know. And the final goal we have on this little wall behind me is we want to have 500,000 listeners a month, not 5 million. Let me explain to you why I don't have 5 million. Because if I wanted to have 5 million, I would have to advocate smoking pot to you. That would have to be a tip I'd have to give. I'd have to be politically correct.
Right.
I would have to not talk about the sanctity of marriage. I'd have to have really no standards because the world, JFK back in the day ran as a Democrat, but really based on his values that I'm not talking about the values he lived by. I'm talking about his platform that he ran on. He would be today like a Republican.
Right.
But back then he was a Democrat. The world has shifted so far that now JFK would definitely not get the nomination from the Democrats. He would be running as a Republican. Mm-hmm. And so I have certain worldviews and standards. I'm a Judeo-Christian that I'm not going to change. And so it's going to keep our listenership around a certain size because, man, you should read some of the comments. People are not happy about me having certain worldviews.
An opinion?
And, I mean, people hate that I view the Bible as like a rule book.
Right.
Because the modern world says, I believe in the Bible, but just not that part. Mm-hmm. Or that part either. So again, it's knowing your purpose. Again, Napoleon Hill writes, the person who moves with definiteness recognizes the difference between temporary defeat and failure. When plans fail, he substitutes others, but he does not change his purpose. Again, I know my purpose, so when I run into adversity, I just keep going. If I can't go through the door, I go around the door, over the door, under the door. We just keep going. A person with purpose. Jason, this studio we're in right now, was it not flooded? It was flooded?
Oh, yeah, it was flooded, and then right after that, completely gutted. But now it's remodeled and good to go.
And we are back in it.
Yeah. But again, what did you do in the meantime? You recorded elsewhere.
Kept recording. That's right. Now, principle number 3. No drifting. Napoleon Hill writes, drifting without aim or purpose is the first cause of failure. Drifting is worse than quitting. So let's talk about it. Let's give an example. Let's say you have to look at your numbers every week for your company, and you have a staff meeting every Monday at 7. All right? And you're a drifter. Do you skip the meeting entirely? No. Do you skip the accounting? No, you don't. You just would start your meeting at 7:40 every Monday. And you wouldn't have an outline, and you would just sort of mail it in. But you'd expect your staff to still be there.
Right.
And the checks would go out late. They would still go out, but just late.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people live in that zone, though.
Right.
They don't pay the late fee on the mortgage, Breck, because it's not 5 days late, but it's 1 day late.
Right.
Then next year, it's 2 days late. And then next year, it's 4 days late. What happens, though, if you, Breck, over time become known as a person who doesn't pay your lease on time or start meetings on time? And we're not talking about the outlier weird situation. I'm talking about normal. This is your normal. This is what you once you're known as a person who consistently misses deadlines, what happens, Breck?
Well, you lose trust, and so the next thing you know, one time turns into 2 and 3, and then and it becomes the norm because you've now drifted. So I like to think of it like a boat in the water. I mean, whatever body of water you want to put it in, we'll say a lake, but you don't put the anchor down. And so the currents, even if they're not strong, will still cause you to be off from the point that you wanted to be. So you're on this ideal fishing spot, but the next thing you know, you're crashing into rocks over on the bank because you didn't have your anchor. You drifted little by little. And so what you're not intentional about, what you're not staying on top of, you'll naturally slide away from. Ooh. And so, the next thing you know, that is your norm. It's no longer inconsistent. You're consistently in the wrong place.
Ooh, now, Jason, let's go back to the no-go zone.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the no-go zone. How could it be impossible for me to drift into an affair with my rules?
Well, it's impossible because the rules are in place.
To
use Breck's words, your rules are like your anchor. You established here, and here are areas that I cannot go and that other people cannot go. And because you know those and you review those and you live by those, I mean, I've even seen you put them up. Like if you look at your org chart, who's at the top? Vanessa. There's not, open space for anybody else. It's, there's Z, but there's, that's not going to happen.
You're one acceptable affair.
Now I'm gonna throw this up. Maybe this is something you can't relate to, but this is another example of drifting. All right.
Yeah.
Imagine your friend. All right. We'll call him Clavis. All right. Not Clavis. Clavis, Jason.
Clavis.
One day you see Clavis, and he's at. You see him outside behind the building, and he's on monkey bars. All right.
I like where this is going.
38-year-old man. 38-year-old man during the workday, you see him on monkey bars.
Mm-hmm.
The next week, you see him on monkey bars, and he's running through tires, right? A couple weeks later goes by. You say, where are you going? He says, I'm going to Afghanistan. I'm working with some guys. We're, doing target practice. So now I'm out there, exercising my rights as an Oklahoman. I'm running around with my AK-47. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a lot of monkey bars, and I'm doing a lot of tires. And I'm going back and forth to Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And then about 6 months later, you're like, what are you doing? And all of a sudden, I'm talking a lot about virgins. I'm like, there's virgins over here, virgins over there. You ever thought about, blowing yourself up? And you might say, no. And I'm like, you ever thought about just blowing yourself up? And no. Well, pretty soon, now we're talking 7 months into this. I'm wearing like a row of bullets, like a sash.
Your beard's getting a little longer.
Bandolero.
I got a super long beard, and I'm talking about the afterlife a lot. And whenever I end statements, instead of saying boom, I say jihad. Now, if I were just constantly now again, and you say, well, where are you going this weekend? I say, I'm going to Iraq. And you go, wow, just like it over there, just visiting the Holy Land, and went to Atwood's, got some ammo. And then you see me at my desk a few weeks later, and you're like, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm just
soldering some wires.
Just soldering some wires. And, now we're 9 months in, and you say, what are you doing now? What are you doing under that desk over there? I'm just polishing this warhead. And then, you say, Clay, what are you doing? I said, I'm just enrolling in Spartan. Just going to Spartan. Just trying to learn how to fly a plane. Don't really care if I land it. Just wanted to know how to fly it.
Get it up there.
Just got back from Afghanistan. Just polishing this forehead. Just watching MacGyver videos, trying to figure out how to diffuse
what I can do with duct tape.
Yep. Just at a certain point, seriously, at a certain point, what am I doing?
Becoming a domestic terrorist.
So let's talk. No, but seriously, this is how the world works, though. Right. You watch these news stories, and it comes out every time, and you're like, Clay, this is so offensive. Get out of here. Shut up. You know this is how it works. You watch the news stories, and they say, well, he started off as a normal guy. And then
he delivered my mail on time every day.
And nobody picks up on it. Nobody says anything. Why? Breck, why?
Because it's slow. It's a slow process as you drift away. You don't realize it. It's not, and I tell even my patients this all the time about their own health and their spine. It's the little things we do every day. And so, if you're not paying attention, you're sliding, you're drifting, and the next thing you know, you're in a completely different place than you ever intended to be.
Do you remember the story that came out. I'm gonna read this story to you guys. This was NBC News. NBC News put out the story, and this would be Dateline, Norman, Oklahoma, September 29th, 2017. I'm going to read the story to you. You guys tell me how you process this. I want to get your take on this, Brett.
Sure.
It says, an Oklahoma man accused of beheading a coworker was convicted of first-degree murder on Friday for the 2014 attack that one witness said was something that people shouldn't have to see. Jurors deliberated for about 2 hours before finding 33-year-old Alton Nolan guilty in the death of 54-year-old Colleen Hufford. Jurors also convicted Nolan of assault and battery with a deadly weapon for attempting to behead a second coworker at the Vaughn Foods plant in Moore. Investigators said Nolan had just been suspended from his job when he walked into the company's administrative office and attacked Hufford. Authorities said Nolan stabbed another coworker who survived before he was shot by a company executive. Prosecutors have said that they would seek the death penalty. During the trial, prosecutors played recordings of Nolan confessing to the stabbings. In the recordings, while Nolan was hospitalized after the 2014 attack, Nolan says that he doesn't regret it at all and that oppressors don't need to be there. Nolan's attorneys say he's mentally ill and believed he was doing the right thing because of his delusional misinterpretations of the Quran. But prosecutors said Nolan knew right from wrong before he attacked Hufford. Nolan had repeatedly tried to plead guilty and asked to be executed, but Cleveland County District Judge Lori Walkley declined to accept his plea. One of Nolan's attorneys had questioned whether his client was mentally competent to enter a guilty plea. Think about this. This is a guy who beheaded a coworker in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get into the story and you read all the details, he didn't just behead her one day.
Right.
He began to drift.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so important right now that we stop drifting, Breck?
In society or in the workplace?
As a listener right now, if I'm listening, why is it so important that I figure out what area of life I'm drifting in and I stop it now?
Oh, man. I think that's such a loaded question. There's so many reasons. So I think, one, it's good to stop and assess where you're at in those different areas of life. So like your F6 goals, seeing where you're at in, what it is you want out of life, where you want to be by a certain time frame.
So write down your goals for your faith, your family,
down your goals.
Finances, fitness, friendship, fun. Write them down. Faith, family, finance, fitness.
And I would say revisit them.
Fun.
If it's been a little while, revisit them. I had to do this a few years back, and I had to figure out that initially my goals weren't even my own. They were goals that I felt imposed upon me by family.
There we go.
Well-intentioned, but I felt that they were not really my own.
There we go.
And so I had to sit down and really make my own goals for me. What did success mean to me personally? And then kind of match those up with my wife and I, because like you and Vanessa, we want to do this life together.
I run into this a lot. People try to give me goals.
Yes.
They're like, we should try to, Clay, you could become a best-selling author. You just got to come out here to New York and speak over here and go over there. And I don't want to.
Right.
Why? I don't want to. Well, Clay, if you work with this. Recently, I've had a lot of people who are big politics reaching out to me for help, a lot of them.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, if you work with us, we can help get House Bill 727 passed. What this could do is allow you and your wife a potential political career. And I don't want to get involved in politics. I literally like what I do, and I just want to do what I do.
Right.
It's amazing how people will call me and say, we'd love to buy an Elephant in the Room franchise and put one down here in Dallas. But we'd like you to come down to assess the area. I'm not coming down to Dallas. Well, if you want this deal, you will. Well, then I don't want the deal. Don't put your goals on me.
Right.
Now, let's move into this next principle. Principle number 4, batting cleanup. Idleness is evil. Oof. Oh, shunda. Idleness is evil. Proverbs 16:27-29 reads, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his mouthpiece. An evil man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Wickedness loves company and leads others into sin. Idleness is evil. Doing nothing is evil. Now, you might say, well, this is from the guy who hates vacation. That's true. I do hate vacation. Well, you don't have to be idle on vacation. You could be moving while laying on the beach doing nothing. You could be moving. You move your little feet around. Well, you can do what you want. I'm just saying idleness is evil. What happens, Jason, when we allow some of the employees on break in the break room? What happens almost every single time in the break room?
It turns into, oh my God, did you hear that so-and-so got to stay home yesterday and she wasn't even sick because I saw her on Facebook, and that's not the first time, and I can't believe we have to come in this early, and oh my God, are you having to work Friday? And then somebody
I can't
quits.
believe this person got off that Friday, and then this Friday they didn't get off, and I heard Clay gave such and such a bonus without doing it, or I heard that this person's having an affair with that person, or I heard about this. How come this it's idleness is the devil's workshop.
Yep.
This is not me. This is Proverbs, pro-verbs, in favor of verbs, in favor of action. Read Proverbs, proverbs, professional verbs. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his mouthpiece. An evil man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Wickedness loves company and leads others into sin. Principle number 5. Poverty is a consequence. What? Poverty is a consequence. Well, when you say it's a consequence, what do you mean by the consequence? Well, a consequence is like cause and effect. This causes that. Causality. A plus B equals C. Doing this causes that. I pick up a rock. I hit you with a rock. You say, ow. I throw it. Ow! Why would you do that? I don't know. I just threw it. I don't know why it hurts. What's your deal? Consequence. It's like eating candy isn't good for the body. I love candy, though. Then you know what's going to happen, okay? So candy, all right, poverty. Think about this. Poverty is a consequence. Proverbs 6 through 11. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 6 through 11. If you'll open your Bible, reads, how long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. Wow. Wow. Jesus, God, you're writing pretty harshly today. I mean, wow. Mm-hmm. What happens, Dr. Brex? I mean, at the end of the day, people need to sleep, 8 hours a day? You think 8 hours? 10, 9?
I think it's a great idea to sleep 8 hours. I'm not personally prescribing to that, so I try not to tell anybody to do anything I'm not doing. But I have found if I at least sleep 6 hours, I consistently perform well. But I would not discourage you from getting more than 6 hours.
Have you run into sleepaholics?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
When we talk about, you're an alcoholic, you're a gamble addict, you're addicted to gambling. This guy's got an addiction. He's a workaholic. People, lazy people love to throw that out there.
Right.
You're a workaholic. Well, we'll get to it. But in Genesis and in Exodus, in the Bible, it advocates working how many days a week, Jason?
6.
What? But in the Bible, it was updated in 1938, right? When the Apostle Franklin Delano Roosevelt updated. No, the 6-day work week has been advocated in the Bible. It has not changed. So if you want to work 5 days a week, that's fine. You just won't be super successful. But now once you get to your goals, you don't have to work 6 days. You can work 5 or 4 or 2 or 1. But to get there, you got to work the 6th day. Now, again, Jason, I'm sure you've never seen this. Do you know people that on their off day sleep until noon?
Yeah, and it baffles me because you have so much time to get things done, but then when you want to sleep an additional 6 hours, I'm a huge fan of long movies, but even after if I see I don't know, what's a good example? The new Avengers was 3.5 hours long.
Yeah,
I loved that. I had worked 6 days that week and decided to see it on Sunday, but by the time I got done, I thought, well, crap. There went half my day, and I felt guilty. Right. So, if I have, back in the day when I was a poor student and poor person, I would sleep until, noon on a Saturday and then wake up and well, I could have mowed the lawn, and now I'm going to be in trouble. I could have done my chores, and now I'm going to be in trouble, and I'm rushing to get all this stuff done.
How old is Andrew?
Andrew is 21 as of this year.
Have you seen that house he's looking to buy?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty nice, huh?
It's awesome. I'm trying to get him because the ceilings are massive. He's like, I want to put pictures of people that I, am inspired by. So I want to get him a 30-foot printout of Elon Musk to put in there.
And he already has a house.
Yeah, he's got a rental property and then their current house.
And he's how old again?
21. And homeboy's looking to get in a supercar and his wife a massive truck. So he's winning the game of life.
Yeah.
Because Andrew lives below his means. He saves a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He's a hard worker. We're honored to have him on the team. But again, He could be sleeping until noon.
True.
If you're out there right now and let's say you're not 21 and you're getting your tail kicked by a 21-year-old, I'm being serious, though. It's time to wake up and get serious. Where are we spending our time? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Proverbs 6:6-11 reads, how long will you stay in bed, you slacker? I mean, God, that was rough. I mean, let me read it to you as I hear it when I read it. This is how I hear it. It's how long will you stay in bed, you slacker? Wow. When will you get up from your sleep, you slacker? I added that one. The first slacker was already there, though. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding off your arms to rest, and poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. Boo! I mean, that's a Bible verse right there. That's not the verse. We don't like that verse. But you can't say you like this book. You can't be out there. At least half of the listeners out there say, "Oh, I believe in the Bible." You can't just toss that part out.
You don't get to pick and choose.
I don't like that part, though. Now, principle number 6. Starting and stopping doesn't work. Napoleon Hill writes, the capacity to surmount failure without being discouraged is the chief asset of every person who attains outstanding success in any calling. He says, the capacity to surmount failure without being discouraged is the chief asset of every person who attains outstanding success in any calling. The capacity to surmount failure without being discouraged is the chief asset of every person who attains outstanding success in any calling. Jason, what kind of adversity do our clients run into that we have to encourage them through? Because a lot of our clients, man, once they start to push through adversity and they start to run into bad things and they just keep going and going and going and going and going, they win. But there are certain people who will then, as the moment they run into any adversity at all, they will say, well, what if God doesn't want it to be? What if it's just not meant to be? Talk to me about a persistent client, maybe your client, maybe my client, somebody who you've seen who's persistently pushing through adversity.
Let's see. Speaking on the topic of adversity, so like examples that people run into, like our client specifically.
Okay, let's just say, let's make it very simple.
Yeah.
Instilling merit-based pay.
Oh, yeah.
Or asking your team to get Google reviews. Or asking your team to write content for the website, or asking your team to sell something. Initially, you say, now, guys, we want to go out there and we're going to use our new membership package and we're going to sell these memberships. And right away, employee number 1 or 2, they'll say this, I just have a question. Is it ethical to sell memberships? So then me, because I'm like a bus, like a tank, I would say, I don't care what you think. I'm going to need you to quit or to sell memberships. Now, if you're wanting to know how to sell memberships better, more effectively, we can have that conversation. Right. If you're questioning my ethics about it, get off my field. Another example. Employees, team, America, we're putting in merit-based pay, which means if you, back when I owned a photography company, it would go like this. After the wedding, we're going to shoot photos for the brides at their wedding. After the wedding, we're going to edit the photos and get them shipped to the bride within 2 weeks after the wedding. The bride should get her photos. She will get her photos. We're promising she will receive her fully edited photos within 2 weeks after the wedding. If you get it done on time, bonus for you.
Bam.
If you get it late, not so good for you. You're going to have, so a bonus, a bonus as in like you make a little bit more money, like a mega point, good job if you get it to them on time. And if you get it to them late, that means we broke our promise and you're going to get a write-up and you're going to make less money. When you try to implement something like that, what happens, Jason?
Well, so Dr. Jay Schroeder with HealthWorks is actually working on that right now. So
Taking
he's
the
implementing
soul to the hole.
Oh yeah, so he's implementing merit-based pay as well as accountability checklist because he realizes he has one location that he needs to ramp up the sales, another location that's fine. It can like monitor itself. It can run pretty well.
And do people love accountability?
Oh no!
Oh, give me accountability, Santa.
No,
Santa.
So he has to deal with because he's working with essentially like a team of Dr. Brecks and then their assistants.
What are you, child? What do you want this year for Christmas? You're a big child. You're a chiropractor. appear to be in your 40s. Wow, you're sitting on my lap. What do you want, child, for Christmas? I just want accountability because I work for a Dr. J.
Yeah, and like people hate
No,
being held accountable.
they
And so what he did was say,
Frick.
okay, well, if you don't like me breathing down your neck, I need to put a system in place to make sure that we're all on the same page. So
Come on.
if I'm not going to ask Dr. Breck what he gets paid per hour, but a professional licensed chiropractor can make up to a certain point. But if homeboys don't hit their numbers or a certain conversion, he bumps them down to like minimum wage. And that's been a huge driving factor because I don't know, like, it
Wow.
must feel pretty bad to say, oh, I could make this an hour, and now I'm making $8 because I didn't want to get my job done. And he got some they fought back on it for, I would say, like the first little bit. But I talked to him last Thursday. He goes, yeah, no, now they're steady rocking.
I just feel like I feel like a lot of people want to be liked, so they can't push through adversity.
Yep.
Right.
Or it's hard. Like in the quote, most people, the second they fail, like, well, wasn't meant to be.
So I'm going to give you some adversity. I went through yesterday. Somebody invited me over to visit their business,
Yes.
and I went out to their business, and I had to be somewhere else at a certain time.
Right.
So I said, I appreciate the tour. I was there for like an hour. I appreciate it. And now I must go. And the person said, but really, we'd like to have you over for dinner. I'm like, I appreciate you. I don't know why anybody would ever want to invite a man bear pig like me for dinner, but I appreciate you. I do. But I have to go. Here it comes in the passive aggressive. Well, we'd already made some dinner. We'd already made it. And we just wanted you to come over. And I'm saying, nope. Why? Because I got to edit my podcast book, man. I got a new book coming out about podcasts, and I got to edit that thing. You know? And, oh, God, all you ever do is work. Well, when my kids are at cheer lessons or doing something else, I'm not going to spend my afternoon kicking it at some dude's business. I like him, but I have things I want to do.
Right.
Another example is I got a bunch of emails. I don't check email. John checks the emails. And somebody keeps emailing me, and they want me to do something I'm not going to do. And let me just kind of tell you what it is. If you're out there listening, this is, hopefully you can figure it out if it's you. They keep wanting me to speak at their organization. And I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Why?
It's not part of your goals.
Yeah, and I'm very nice. Think, well, you can do a give back, and it's a great way to help the community. And no. Do you see on my list back here anywhere it says help the community?
Nope.
Unless it's in super fine print.
I'll help business owners, and they can help the community.
Right.
But I'm not going to take my day to go help the community. Another example. A big charity in town wants me to do a fundraiser right now for a certain group of first responders. Now, we have a discount for first responders at Elephant in the Room.
We do.
And we've actually done free haircuts for first responders, and we've had different promotions.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not going to take my entire week and let my whole week go to hell so that I can organize some fundraiser for first responders. It's not on my list.
Right.
Being a good dad is on my list. Chasing my wife around, that's on my list. But it's not on my list, and you've got to be able to fight through that adversity. But starting and stopping is not a move. You can't just start something and stop it. Dr. Brick, you got a hot take.
Well, I just, one of the best business books I've ever read always continues to finish the same way, and that is that the tortoise beats the hare. And a little engine that could keeps getting to its destination. And so sometimes, we like to take those big chunks and they feel great, but we don't really enjoy the process of just getting in and doing the grind. And I think the more you can grab a hold and enjoy the grind of it,
Yes.
actually appreciate the grind, you're going to get much farther ahead than those who are just trying to get the chunks.
You got to fall in love with the process.
Keep taking a step. I mean, everybody who's taken one step after another ends up way further ahead than those who are just looking for the big jumps.
Now, principle number 7. Christ wants you to win, and the devil wants you to lose. Now, you might say, you and you're getting all spiritual. I didn't tune into this show for a spiritual awakening. Well, I didn't record this show so you wouldn't have a spiritual awakening. All right, I'm recording this show for people out there who are diligent doers. And if you like the message, great. If not, change the channel. But check this out. All right, Christ, as I see it, wants you to win, and the devil wants you to lose. Now, this is a very, 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 very big idea. John 10:10 from the Bible reads, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." So what I have found is that whenever I have something I have to do, like today, edit my podcast book, and I don't want to do it, I like writing books, and I like when people read the books, but the process of writing a book is tough for me. It is hard for me. I read slow. I edit slower. So I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Why are you saying it that way? Well, I will continue to say it that way until we get through this idea. So why do I not want to do it? I believe it's satanic. That's what I believe. I believe I'm called to do it. It's my vocation. It will help people. The word vocation means calling. I believe I'm supposed to do it because I feel like I got a little nudge to do it. I feel like I'm supposed to do it. I feel like it will help people. I feel like it will be a positive thing for people, for the readers. I think it will encourage somebody and provide them with the practical steps needed to launch a successful podcast. But I also don't want to do it. And I have found that I want to eat ice cream. And sex, drugs, ice cream. That's not very hard to sell.
No.
I mean, you guys want to gamble for a chance to win millions? Yeah. You guys want to drink until you can't think? Oh, yeah. You guys want to smoke pot? Yes. You guys want to, you want to eat some ice cream? Ha, 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 ha. Woo! It's not hard to sell people on sex, drugs, gambling, and ice cream. It's easy.
Right.
Those are satanic things. Seriously, I believe that. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard to sell people on, you guys want to eat some kale?
Right.
What? Who does this person think? Kale? No, kale. No, we don't want kale. Hey guys, you guys want to get up early? You guys want to get up early and eat some kale? Do you guys want to take an oath that we'll never gamble again, drink or smoke or eat ice cream? It's because people don't want discipline and accountability. Therefore, we naturally drift away from it. And if you're somebody who believes that God creates all good things and Satan inspires all bad things, this is where we're going to get kind of weird. But that's okay, because I feel like that's where I am more comfortable. In my car the other day, I was driving my car, and I'm like, I was just yesterday, and I had to come home and edit this book. And I didn't want to edit the book. And I said out loud, I am going to edit the book. I'm going to edit the book. I love book editing. I'm going to edit the book. Editing the books is what I want to do because I'm going to edit the book. And then I made myself do it, and now I feel good as a result. Mm-hmm. But it's those moments where, Breck, you know what I'm talking about, where
you had to win the mental battle.
You know what to do.
Right, of course.
Friday, I had to let a lady go. I had to fire somebody. Mm-hmm. Oh.
That's no fun.
No, it's not. I mean,
you don't wake up in the morning saying, "Hey, I'm looking forward to letting somebody go today."
Yeah, it's usually as a general rule. Now, I can tell you, I like what happens after you do a colon cleanse. I'll tell you that. I like the lack of drama in the office. But there's a certain part of you when you sit down with that person and you say, "We need to talk," and they know it's coming. Mm-hmm. Satan starts working on you,
right?
And he's going, "Just tell her it's okay and don't fire her. Just let it happen." So you're like, hey, Carl, can we talk? Yeah, boss, what's going on? Carl, and then Carl is aggressive, and Carl senses weakness, and Carl needs to be fired. So Carl says, what do we want to talk about? What? Huh? Because if it's about me being late, like you've never been late? Okay, okay. Is that what we're going to? Well, what in the world? Are you gonna fire me? And all of a sudden you leave the meeting like, Carl, you're great, and I just wanted to tell you one-on-one. Oh God,
you're a wonderful person.
Well, it's a lot of times where people say they go, I wish I would have said. Mm-hmm. It's those moments where I should have said that. I should have said something. Should have stood up for the thing. Should have fought for it, but I didn't.
Yeah, but like you were just saying a moment ago, when you are consistently doing what you're supposed to do, you don't have that guilt. When you're getting to the office at 5 a.m. every day, consistently not being late, then you don't feel guilty. Carl has nothing he can say back at that point to say, oh, like you've never been late. You're above that because you've disciplined yourself, you've put the accountability in, and so those are non-factors. That's just a non-starter in the conversation. So I know that when you go into that meeting, Clay, that's never going to be an excuse or a reason that somebody's ever going to try to put back on you.
That is true.
But for the listener, that may be. And so first, I've told our staff the same thing when they were complaining about patients, particularly the massage clients, if they were canceling last minute or showing up late. and they wanted a penalty in place on the person. And it's not that I'm opposed to that. I just told them that first we have to do our part before I can impose it on the patient. And if we're not consistently providing that service,
there it is.
If we're not on time, we're not always here, then we have no business doing that to the people who are paying for the service.
And that's the thing, an elephant in the room. It's a thing. I'm not going to find you if you're late. I'm going to try to get you in.
Right.
And every week, Jason, every week do I not talk to our team about cutting hair cuts on time?
Right. And the first thing they want to do is say, well, how come when somebody shows up 15 minutes late or with 5 minutes left in their appointment and you want to just turn around and say, hey, you're consistently doing 35 to 40-minute haircuts. The rule is we got to get it done in 23 because we're promising that service.
So we have great people on our team like Jordan and Carly. We have so many great people that cut hair on time and do a great job. And you know what? Occasionally a client of ours is running behind, and so we need to take the high road and try to get him in. And then what happens is the guy who's on time now is a little inconvenienced because now we're into his time. It's a constant conflict, but we have to do our best to keep our eye on the prize. Now, here we go. Principle number 8. This is going to really make somebody mad. And I am sorry. If I have not made you mad yet, this one might get the amygdala going here. Proverbs 13:4. A sluggard's appetite is never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. Principle number 8. Wanting something doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I remember talking to a guy, we're talking about, maybe a decade ago, one of my early clients who is in ministry. And this guy wanted it, baby. He wanted to reach 1,000 people. He wanted to. He wanted to reach 1,000 people. He said those words from the pulpit even. And then we come back next week, and there's still 300 people. So I'm talking to the pastor. I'm like, Pastor, you're stuck at 300 people. And this is not a super complicated idea. Why don't you go door to door? Every door in the community. Hi, I'm with the local church. I'd like to invite you to attend our church. This is a church in Dallas, by the way, the little church in Dallas. Well, we'd like to do it, but it's hard to find volunteers. Okay, why don't we run Facebook ads? Well, we did, and then someone left bad comments. Okay, why don't we do mailers? Well, it's hard to get approval from the board. Okay, why don't we run YouTube commercials? Well, I don't know. So the next Sunday, we go back, whether it be religious in nature or not,
right?
And you don't actually do it and follow through, what happens?
Well, without execution, it's dead in the water. So, the only thing that happens is what you take action on. And doesn't, over time, the message feel less and less sincere? Oh, yeah. Cynicism begins to creep in? We had a coach in high school that would give that, the amped up Rudiger, take your favorite sports movie where the coach just gives that real inspiring speech. Oh, yeah. He did it every day. It was like every day at practice, every day before the game, it loses its effect if you use it all the time. Yeah. He just starts quoting various things no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. Coach, we're still 0-7. Right. Next year, guys, this freshman class right now, they are going to be good. Now they're seniors. Guys, the sophomore class. This next one coming up. Come on. Right. This is our year. Come on, man. You got to get it done. And nothing is worse than just saying you want it. Right. You got to do it. Now, principle number 9. Get rich quick schemes don't work. Oh, but they sell well. Let me tell you this. It's like that ice cream. Everybody wants it. Proverbs 13:11 reads, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Let's go back into churches for a second. This is I think churches like to escape accountability because they like to say, well, if God wants it to be, then we'll grow. Let me tell you what, I've been around a lot of big churches, and that is not the mentality at all of the founders of huge churches. They're like, we're going to go house to house, knock on doors, and we're going to invite families. We're doing it. And we're going to run ads, and we're going to invite people, and that's what's going to happen. We're not going to make you, convert to Christianity at your door. We're just going to go, hey, we're the local church, and we'd love to invite you out this Sunday. It's a great event for the kids. Love to invite you out. And they do it consistently. But
Churches that don't grow, they like to say, well, maybe it's just not meant to be. Here's my favorite. We're just called to be a local church that's a community church.
Mm-hmm.
That makes zero sense. We're just called to be a local NFL team where we have just a local 15,000 fans that attend. We're just a local smaller.
Right.
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
What happens is
God
though
doesn't like mega churches.
There we
I've
go.
heard that one.
Right.
I've heard that. But yet he spoke to like 5,000, maybe 10,000 people.
Well, God was mad at Jesus at that time. Jesus was in time out for reaching too many people at that time.
Yeah.
So what happens is that you go to these church conferences and they're going to teach you like 16 secrets that the small churches don't know. And it's going to be like an email campaign to reach the lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a drip campaign. It's like a texting software.
Mm-hmm.
It's a software that can recognize the faces of who attends your church services and doesn't know. AI technology shows this is real stuff. This is real stuff that's out there right now. There's real software that shows you what faces attend and what don't.
That's
And then it can automate. It's a true story. Then you can email people that don't attend. How's that going to work?
I'd assume it'd be super expensive, and then it's not even gonna. There's no payoff.
I'm just saying, Jason, you're
I
not.
saw that.
You and I have different
Minority
religious
Report.
views. But let's just pretend for a second that you went to a church service,
Mm-hmm.
and you went one time. You didn't come back because you didn't like the service. By the way, if people don't like the service, they won't come back.
Right.
It's just in. So let's just say you went out to see you got invited to go to a church, and you didn't like the pastor's delivery.
Right.
So you don't come back, and you get an email that says, "Hey, we missed you last Sunday." Would that motivate you at all to come back?
I would honestly be surprised. Be like, what in the world? I've never been directly emailed or contacted by a church before. This is a little, I don't know.
Would it motivate you to want to come back?
It wouldn't. Ironically, just thinking about it, it kind of annoys me. Like, how dare you?
Right. I'm just saying, not only would you not want to come back, you get mad.
Yeah. But what I will say, though, is like, I'm not a church goer, but I've gone twice with my father-in-law to Life Church. And I will say, like, if that was something I was passionate about, I would go back every time, because every time I've heard Craig speak, even though I'm not in that same camp, I leave thinking, God, he got me. How did he do that? That was crazy.
He's good.
A great
Yeah.
communicator.
And that alone would make, like, if John ever asked me to come back with him, be like, absolutely. Just to go hear Craig speak and to be there with you, that's totally fine. But it's because it was a likable experience. Now, I went to another service with him at, I won't say the other church's name, so I don't want to make him upset, but it was so bad. The singers were bad. The service was very bland. The speaker had no passion whatsoever, and it just felt like a harpy the whole time, like they were making you feel bad for something. I would not go back there.
Like you had to go.
Yeah.
It's like an obligation. Like the pastor had to preach.
Yep.
The people had to be there.
Nobody wanted to be there.
No one
was
wanted to
having a
be
good
there.
time. Yeah.
People are yawning in the front row.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you this: if you're a pastor out there, and how do you know if you're good or not? Do people want to come back and bring friends?
Right.
Let's just ask ourselves that question. Now, if you're a business owner and you're going, Breck, my chiropractic center isn't growing. Can you maybe share some of the get rich quick systems that you've been presented to you, whether it be about chiropractic care, or not naming the companies,
right?
But some of the get rich quick schemes that you've been pitched throughout your 40 some odd years on this planet.
Well, most of them have been health in their nature, because there's all these. I don't know if we can call it pyramid, but there's get rich quick schemes that are all involved with health. Like you've got all these patients, all these people. You're going to sell this like it's hotcakes.
Tell me if this seems familiar. Tell me if I'm on point here. Is this Dr. Breck?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dr. Breck, this is your buddy Carl.
Yeah. How you doing, Carl?
From OSU.
Yeah.
We hadn't talked in probably, 15 years?
Yeah, it's been that long.
And you kind of have been on my heart a little bit, and I've got an opportunity. We meet up at Panera.
Sure.
So now we meet at Panera. I've got a suit on and an oddly nice and new foreign car.
Yes.
And I'm joined with my buddy, Eduardo.
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, so Breck, how's it going, man?
We're doing good. How are you?
This is my friend Eduardo. Dr. Breck, it's so nice to meet you. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, my associate here, Mr. Clark, he's a triple diamond. I happen to be the vice lord of the products. We auto ship the Melaleuca. It's the acai berry sent over from Alaska and from the hills of the South Korean peninsula.
Always from where?
And you're a chiropractor, yes?
Yes.
You want to make more money, yes?
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. You introduce your patients to this. It's tested independently in Switzerland, the stuff that we get from South Korea. And it will change their life. But just a thimble. They drink just a thimble. They auto ship it. It's $84 a bottle. You, my friend, though, because we don't advertise. We pay the advertisement to you direct.
Right.
So now you can make $40 per patient per month. Now I ask you this: are you making $40 per patient right now? Are you right? No, you're not. Could you imagine yourself? I want to think about this. Now, each patient could get 2 more patients signed up, and pretty soon you have millions of dollars. Now you want to come in big with an investment that shows that you're strong, that you can do it, and so you want to come in with an investment of $5,000 of the acai berry. Melaleuca. Don't say no. I ask you, what's your favorite word? No or yes? Yes or yes or no? Yes. Right. Thank you. Now I just signed right here. Has that not happened though? Has it not happened?
That is eerily similar. That is almost exactly what has happened.
Let me pay for
multiple
lunch.
times.
Let me pay for lunch. You just look over my catalog of my cars I own.
Yeah.
You flip through
now I
my
can't
cars.
tell you how much I make, but here happens to be a check stub.
Now there's a cruise we'll all be going on soon to the Iceland, and we get to go there. Now, ironically, the scientists have shown Iceland doesn't have as much ice. It's actually branding things, more green. You see, I'm saying I know these things, and so we're going to go down there, and then it's going to be incredible. And by the way, I was just born yesterday. I have no background you can find on the Google.
Yes.
And our company was started by a billionaire.
Always.
He was a doctor, very frustrated with American medicine. So he used chai tea.
Yes.
And what's the kind of pins you do, the acupuncture and chai tea and taekwondo. And he learned all these things from his father, who was living as a mountain man in the Appalachian Mountains over there off the coast of the Soviet Union. And you're like, what are you talking about? Is it not true?
It's absolutely true. Absolutely. And I've heard that same thing with variations to who and where
They always have
100 times over.
And there's always some mysterious foreigner guy who comes out. He's like it's always independently verified in labs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The FDA, 18 things the FDA does not want you to know.
Right.
And it's over. It happens every time.
Right. Every time.
And when do we become susceptible to those things? We become susceptible to them when we're not consistent.
Right.
And we're losing. Now we're like, you come home and your wife says, well, how was the meeting? You say, babe, it was awesome. And for some reason, I think I should do this. And she's like, why are you talking like that?
Right.
What do you mean? Why am I talking like this? I came in big, baby. I bought the $5,000. I'm going to sign up for this all night long. Look at the auto shipping. Now you're calling people you barely know.
Right.
Or you're calling lifelong friends. And you're trying to sell out your lifelong friends for a quick buck. Jason, here's the deal. You care about your family, right?
Yeah.
As my key employee, I want you to know you can do this.
We're going to do this together.
We're going to do this
we're going to
together
rise to the top together. You're going to be one of the first people in.
We're going to sign up together as a team. And pretty soon we will take over the world. Now about 6 months in, all your friends are stuck with bottles.
Yep.
A garage full.
That's best case scenario. Otherwise, you have a garage and nobody signed up.
And your friends are no longer your friends.
Right.
Now you're like, I used to have friends, but I've exchanged them for a quick buck.
Right.
I'm just telling you, if you're not consistent, it'll seem plausible. And so Galatians, Galatians, let's go to principle number 10. Principle number 10, God loves consistency. Now Galatians 5:22 through 23 reads, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. God loves consistency. Again, whether you're a Christian or not, I know half our audience is. If you want to screw up your marriage, be inconsistent. That's something you want to do. That's a tip. I actually I'm a recovering jackass, and one of my moves I used to do is I would say, I'm going to be home at 7, you know? And that could be 8, you know?
Right.
I'd say, I'll be home at 5, and that could be 7. I'd say, I'll be home around 5, and that could be as late as 7.
Yeah.
And then you start to wonder, like, I wonder where he is. I wonder what he's doing. Is he doing good things or bad things? And then we start to the mind starts to wonder, and we start to think about all of my friends who I went to school with and people I know who've had affairs, and maybe my wife is wondering, where am I doing the same thing, and where is he, and what's going on? And then so it's my fault for not being consistent. But if you're consistent, you can be counted upon. And just like a 3-legged stool, you pull out one leg from the stool, and what happens, Jason?
Well, it gets a little unbalanced.
I mean, if you sit down on a stool, right, and one leg just is on the verge of breaking, and then it all of a sudden collapses, what happens to your body?
You crack your tailbone, most likely.
There it is. And then are you likely to sit on that chair again?
Nope.
Now, what if...
Well, I mean, hopefully not.
What if, though, I fix the stool, I come back and say, Jason, here's the deal. I've been working with my multi-level man, and I could not come to work today, right? Because I'm starting to make the money, the automated, and I'm making the money. But I did fix the stool. Oh, yes, I did. You can sit on it. Now, what if you sit on the stool and it collapses another time, maybe just 2 weeks later? What happens now?
Well, I mean, fool me once. I shouldn't have sat on it again, especially if that guy giving me that sales pitch fixed it.
Now, what if an employee comes to work 5 days a week on time, and then next week, their second week, they miss a day or come in late that day, and then maybe 3 weeks later, they come in late again, maybe one day. And then what if you look at the average and you say, over time, every 2 or 3 weeks, the person calls out, doesn't show up, they show up late. What do you start to think about that person in your mind, Jason?
It ruins the reputation, and that was something that, just going back to, what was it, point... which one was the drifting?
I'll give you a mulligan on the
Principle 3. That's the one.
Principle 3.
Yeah. So Principle 3 and this has a really good. Or they connect in. Your reputation is super important, and a lot of people don't think about that. Whether you be an entrepreneur, a simple employee, or just a person, when you start to drift and you're like, okay, I'm super consistent here.
I'm always consistent.
But then I'm off this day, and then like you said, you look at the sum total and the average, and that person's not as consistent as you thought. Their reputation is then tarnished, and it's a lot harder to rebuild that.
You can count on me to be there.
Sometimes,
100% of the time, 60% of the time. Let me explain something to you about the math of the acai berry. 60% of the people surveyed said that 100% of the time they took the acai berry, it changed their lives 30% of the time. Dr. Breck, back to you. You have a hot take.
Well, I mean, since we're going to be preaching this morning, I mean, the Bible, and I wish I could remember book, chapter, and verse.
Sure, go for it.
But it definitely says a man's reputation is better than fine silver, which is exactly, what we're talking about. If you're inconsistent, your reputation falls quickly. And so, you've got to be consistent to have that reputation, whether that be, like you were saying with Vanessa, you want to allow her to be able to trust you and know that you're faithful. In the workplace, it's different aspects, but it's the same concept.
It's the same concept. And
you've got to be consistent if you're going to be counted on, to be independable. I remember one conversation years ago about an employee, and as you were saying with the hiring, this guy was saying, one thing I can say is that they always show up. And in my particular business, we aren't able, it's not a setup, it's a service, so we don't do it from home. You've got to minimum, you got to show up. And so the person who consistently shows up is already ahead of the person who doesn't.
If you look at my resume, I have a degree from Oklahoma University, a bachelor's. I studied nuclear science in the University of Arizona. I know a lot of things, right? My only problem I have is I don't show up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Hire me.
Right.
Isn't that not a thing, though? People try that crap.
You may be the best possible employee if you were there, but you're not there. So the person who's there is already a better employee.
Now, Proverbs 22:1 reads, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." Look at that.
Thank you.
Proverbs 22:1 right
Appreciate
there.
you pulling that up for me.
Using the Google machine right there. Folks, you should check out the Google machine. It's really, there's only like 90% of the world's using this.
Yeah.
For you other 9%, you got to switch. Bing is not a thing. Okay, now, principle number 11. Work as unto the Lord. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. 1 Corinthians 15:58. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Now, what if you have a mindset shift right now? What if you, for the first time in your life, or maybe we go back, maybe we used to do it, and maybe we just need to get refocused today. What if we work as unto the Lord? What if it says, therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain? What if we did work as unto the Lord? What would happen if we worked as unto the Lord? As unto, let's just say that, Jason, let's say you have a guy who works for you who's a Christian, and you're not a Christian. You're his boss. But he, in his mind, has that. We have a lot of Mormons in our office who work like this.
I was going to say Ben is a great example.
When somebody works as unto the Lord, how does that impact you? I mean, even if you don't share the same faith as somebody, but when you have somebody like Ben who works as unto the Lord, Ben is a member of our search engine team. He's the head of the department over there. What happens when somebody's working as unto the Lord and not as unto human masters?
Well, you see that, like in Ben's case, he gets so much more done, and an added benefit is he's not looking for any type of validation from you or any other boss, because what he's saying is, I'm going to do the best of my ability and beyond, or and above that, because the person I'm serving is much higher than these, physical people. This is my one purpose.
Yeah.
That's why Ben gets promoted so much.
Right.
Now think about this. This is the Bible verse here. I'm going to read it to you. This is coming at you hot. This is from Colossians 3:23. So Colossians 3:23 through 24. So it's Colossians chapter 3, the 23rd verse through the 24th verse. And I will read this to you right now. It says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward, it is the Lord Christ you're serving. Colossians 3:23-24. Now, principle number 12. We have two more principles I want to teach today. Mm-hmm. You must stay consistent with your actions, not just your mindsets, but with your actions. All right. Now, this is an idea that maybe is hard for folks out there, because we live in a world where we talk a lot about our beliefs, but we don't talk a lot about what we're doing that lines up with those beliefs. We talk a lot about our beliefs, but we don't talk a lot about, are we doing anything related to those beliefs? We don't, It's a lot of people out there who are pro-choice. Let's say pro-life. Mm-hmm. You're pro-life, you're pro-choice. To bring the room together, let's talk about the most divisive subject in the world. Okay, pro-life or pro-choice? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're pro-life, let's just say you are. And this happened this year. I met a lady. This happened. She's super pro-life, except for in her situation, because the baby's daddy left. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how many people out there were born in a family outside of wedlock, but I know that I'm passionate about that subject. But it really doesn't mean a whole lot for me to have that worldview, unless I'm willing to, when it affects me, have the same worldview.
Right.
And I wasn't attacking this person. They just came up to me and were telling me about having this abortion and their feelings of guilt and wanting to know how to get over the feelings of guilt. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're supposed to get over the feelings of guilt. I think the feeling of guilt is because you said with your mouth for all these years you're this way, and now you're not. And so as a consequence of that, you feel bad. Mm-hmm. And therefore, forgiveness, you'd have to ask God to forgive you, and I believe he does forgive you. And we all make mistakes. And I don't think that you doing that mistake is worse than me doing a different mistake. But I'm just saying is the reason why you feel that way is because it's called cognitive dissonance, and that's where your actions don't align with your values. It's where you're saying I want to go this direction in the boat, but you're actually rowing the other way. You're getting further away over time. So again, Napoleon Hill, the best-selling author of Think and Grow Rich, writes, nature will not tolerate idleness. Again, it says, nature will not tolerate idleness or vacuums of any sort. All space must be and is filled with something. When the individual does not use the brain for the expression of positive creative thoughts, nature fills the vacuum by forcing the brain to act upon negative thoughts. You can't just do nothing. You're going to do positive or negative. You can't do nothing. And principle number 13, I'll leave you with this one. This is a notable quotable that Lee Cockrell told me back in the day. He was the guy who used to be the executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts. And he said, when you do hard things, life gets easier. Now, what does that mean, Jason? What are some hard things that you've already done this morning that maybe you wouldn't have done 5 years ago?
Got up at 4 and decided to come record a podcast on a Sunday morning. Whereas I used to sleep in until like 9, 12 at the latest.
So you're saying that you got up at what time?
4.
What's something hard that you've been doing this week, Dr. Breck, that maybe you wouldn't have done, 20 years ago, 15 years ago? Something that's maybe a new positive habit you've picked up, whether it be like getting Google reviews or holding your team accountable, or walk me through things that you do now that are positive habits that are allowing you to have success that maybe you didn't do before.
Well, I mean, kind of going back, even just consistently eating healthy, having a healthy routine, getting up early. I'm a night owl by nature, and so it's not just a natural thing to wake up at 4:30 for me, but it's become a very consistent, natural thing, or it has become more natural, I should say. And so those are great ways as far as starting my day, doing some quiet time and meditation to get the day started right. But then also, the consistency of the routine, knowing what I'm going to do each and every day, having that to-do list, and getting things done. I've struggled over the years with procrastination. And so, I know I have to have things in place that keep me from letting things push back and slide to the next day. So it's not fun, but I've got to get it done.
And I think that the feeling you get as a result of doing it, how do we all feel after because no one wants to get up at 4:30 probably. Nobody probably wants to hold themselves accountable. Nobody wants to stick to some workout routine or whatever it is. But how do you feel as a result of doing it?
Great.
Yeah, you feel proud. You definitely feel proud of yourself. You have self-esteem. It's not this false idea that we're trying to give kids now where everybody gets a trophy. You've actually worked hard, you overcame, and you've earned that within you, trophy or not. The participation ribbon doesn't matter, kind of like you were talking about Ben. I mean, he's doing it for a whole different reason, a higher level reason. And so these lower level rewards are fine and good. They just don't even matter anymore because you're working to something so much greater.
If you're out there today and you have found yourself drifting, or you're experiencing cognitive dissonance as you just keep falling short of the achievement of your goals, I encourage you to listen to this show once, twice, 3 times a lady. I encourage you, though, seriously, to listen to this show. Listen to it once. Listen to it twice. 3 times with your lady. Because I'm telling you, we've got to change the way we think. And if you change the way you think, then you're going to start to change your habits. Mm-hmm. And if you change, think about this. If you change the way you think, then you're going to change your actions. If you change your actions, you change your habits. And when you change your habits, you change your life. Again, if you change the way you think, then you're going to change your actions. If you change your actions, you will then change your habits. And if you change your habits, you will then change your life. And that is what this show is all about. My name's Clay Clark. I'm a almost 39-year-old man who doesn't have the ability to tan. I took algebra 3 times, and some would argue this show would be better if I was a mime. But I can tell you I've had tremendous success, not because I'm a genius, but because I've learned how to reprogram and re-trigger my mind and to recalibrate what I do on a daily basis. And I know that there's not a single listener out there today. You do not have everybody out there has the capacity and the tenacity to make big changes. But you've got to forget feeling bad. You've been going the wrong way for 37 years, 42 years, 55 years, whatever it is. You've been going the wrong way for 20 years, 30 years. Don't feel bad. You're somebody who's for a long time has set goals and hasn't achieved them, but now this is a new day. This is a new you. This is a new thing. This is a new worldview, and you're going to have success. And we like to end every show with a boom because boom around here stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that's what it takes. Big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. Not small, weak, pessimistic. I did my best. It's big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. You got to go out there today and make this day the best day you have because it is profound every day that you are above the ground. Every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. We must revere it as such. And now without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom.